So here we are driving down the road in southern Lebanon. You'll notice the flags here that are yellow next to the Lebanese flag. And these yellow flags are for Hezbollah. They pretty much control a good part of Lebanon. I will say I never felt like I was in danger there, even though the news makes Lebanon seem like it's this crazy dangerous place. I didn't even see any Hezbollah members the whole time I was in Lebanon. You'll see a ton of Lebanese military at the checkpoints, but it's like they're hiding in the shadows. And here we are in Sidon. We're getting really close to Sarepta, which was the biblical city of Zarephath. And you may recognize this name from the book of First Kings. It's where Elijah was residing during the famine of King Ahab's reign. And we know that from the Bible that famine came about because of his wickedness. So this city, Zarephath, was under the control of Jezebel's father, and his name was Ethbal. He came into power. He was a priest of Astarte, and he killed his predecessor, according to Josephus. Knowing Jezebel's father was a murderer helps us understand her mindset in the story of Naboth, which we won't be delving into in this video, but if you're interested, it's 1 Kings chapter 21. Here's our first views of the shoreline of the ancient city of Zarephath. We'll get to see where the archaeological site is that was excavated in the late 60s, early 70s in a few minutes. It's all grown up, so there's not much to see. And if you ever get the chance to go to the National Museum in Beirut, you'll get to see some of the artifacts that they excavated from this site. You'll even get to see some of those in this video later on. And so let's take a look at 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 8 through 16 to see why this city is so famous in the Bible. Then the word of the Lord came to him, "Go at once to Zarephath, in the region of Sidon, and stay there. I have directed a widow there to supply you with food." So he went to Zarephath. When he came to the town gate, a widow was there gathering sticks. He called to her and asked, "Would you bring me a little water in a jar so I may have a drink?" As she was going to get it, he called, "And bring me, please, a piece of bread." "As surely as the Lord your God lives," she replied, "I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little olive oil in a jug. I am gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." Elijah said to her, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said, but first make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me. And then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry, until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. And so to add some additional context to this story, the people of this ancient town of Zarephath were not followers of Yahweh. They would have worshipped the ancient god Baal. And here's an image of the ancient god Baal worshipped by the people here. This statue was found in ancient Syria, and the images of Baal that you'll find throughout the Levant vary depending on the city. There was no real set in stone picture of what this god would have looked like. It was just left up to the local craftsmen and artisans to come up with images of these idols that they worshipped. And I want to call out that in this town and the region as a whole, they were in the middle of a famine. And the god they worshipped of weather and rain, Baal, did not provide for them, and he wasn't providing for them. And so here you've got a guy named Elijah who comes in and he encounters a widow who's about to eat her last meal with her son, and she's expecting to die from starvation. And Yahweh provides for them. It wasn't Baal, it was Yahweh.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. It helps me to continue making content just like this video.
Continued a little on further down, and this site you see right here is right in front of the archaeological excavations that took place in the late 60s, early 70s. We'll still see those in just a minute. But just look at this view. This is incredible. It seemed like the further we went down the coast, the more beautiful the water got. One thing that's special about the ancient city of Zarephath is that it's one of the most extensively excavated sites in all of Lebanon for ancient Phoenicia. And when I went to the National Museum in Beirut, I took this picture right here of some of the ancient statuettes of Egyptian deities that were found here in Zarephath, and it just shows the influence the Egyptians had on this area.
So I am here with the best tour guide ever, Mustafa and Fadi. So Mustafa and Fadi's over here.
Hello everybody, I am Fadi, I am leader guide tour inside Lebanon, and I am ready to serving you when you come to Lebanon. Austin and me, we are make tour in south of Lebanon now. Yesterday we will be in Baalbek. Come to Lebanon and we will make big adventure with us, Lebanon Tours Online. And Austin is a very good YouTuber and he's very smart. He know how to choose a place, and God bless everybody.
Awesome. Well, I'll put his link to his website in my bio, but look at this place. This place is awesome. This guy can take you anywhere in Lebanon you want to go. This is his first time coming here to Zarephath.
Right after the story of Elijah multiplying the food of the widow of Zarephath, we see that he raised her son from the dead. And so let's check out Elijah chapter 17, verses 17 through 24. Sometime later, the son of the woman who owned the house became ill. He grew worse and worse, and finally stopped breathing. She said to Elijah, "What do you have against me, man of God? Did you come to remind me of my sin and kill my son?" "Give me your son," Elijah replied. He took him from her arms, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on his bed. Then he cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow I am staying with, by causing her son to die?" Then he stretched himself out on the boy 3 times and cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." The Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned to him, and he lived. Elijah picked up the child and carried him down from the room in the house, and gave him to his mother and said, "Look, your son is alive." Then the woman said to Elijah, "Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is truth."
If I was experiencing a famine like they were during the days of Elijah, I would have to say being in an area this close to this beautiful of water would probably make it a tad bit better. Like, I think I could manage. Because this place is incredibly beautiful. And the water is so, like, such a turquoise blue color. So, up behind me, on the opposite side of this, up the hill, there is the actual archaeological site of Zarephath, or Zarephath. And it's totally grown over. The grass is taller than me. You can't see it. But this is the view they would have had from that village that was here. And now, walking up from the water here to the archaeological site, you're not gonna be able to see anything, but it's still a cool place to be, to know that this is the area where Elijah multiplied the food of the widow.
So here we are right off the coast. You can see what looks like just a bunch of brush. And this is the archaeological site of Zarephath. It's grown up. Nobody's really taken care of it here. And before we go, I want to call your attention to one last Bible verse about the ancient city of Zarephath. And it can be found in Obadiah chapter 1, verse 20. And so let's read this. This company of Israelite exiles who are in Canaan will possess the land as far as Zarephath. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sepharad will possess the towns of the Negev. And so this verse is telling us that when the Messiah sets up his kingdom, the boundaries of the Davidic and Solomonic kingdoms will once again expand to include that promise to Jacob in his dream at Bethel in Genesis 28, chapter 14, which reaffirmed God's promise to Abraham.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. It helps me continue making content just like this one.